Well, welcome back to our series on prospecting paradigms of six-figure sales professionals. And today we're going to talk about something we just have to address. If we're going to be talking about the paradigm, the mental approach of successful sales professionals, we have to look at the topic of how we deal with rejection. We are going to get people when we are prospecting who are going to say no. Not only that, you're going to often get people who are going to say no and they're going to mean it. They're going to be forceful in their no. Now, I don't find that when I'm prospecting that I get a lot of people who are just flat rude, but I certainly get people who are going to make it very clear, I'm not going to buy what you're selling and I'd prefer you not to contact me again. That's fine. That is absolutely their prerogative. I respect that. The question is, how will I deal with it? How do I deal with the no? How do I deal with the go away? How do I deal with the person who says, I don't want you to bother me anymore? How do I deal with that? Well, I've got an assignment for you. It's going to sound like a pretty wacky assignment, but here's my assignment for you. Just go to a public place, a restaurant, a mall, wherever it is, walk up to somebody at random and just say, hey, can I have $100? And just see what happens. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but let me keep going. I was recently at a coaching session. We were talking about dealing with rejection. I was at a resort, a business resort in the Phoenix area in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we were talking about it, and I wanted to make my point. So I walked over to the doors, and I opened the doors into the lobby, and there was somebody passing by. And I said, excuse me, will you give me $100 right now? That's literally what I said. Will you give me $100 right now? And they said, no. I said, great, have a good day. And then I walked back in the room, and I looked at these sales professionals. I said, okay, how we doing? There are no bullet holes. I'm not bleeding. I have not been massively insulted by anybody. I asked for $100, they said no, and life goes on. The fact of the matter is that the no is not the problem. It's the fear of the no that is the problem. It is the fear that we're going to get rejected more than the rejection itself. So what do we do with that? Well, there are a couple of different opportunities. One is to just sort of buck up, right? And just say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And there's something to be said for that, right? It's just that whole willpower approach. But there's a better way to do it. And this is what I want you to consider doing. I want you to think about not just how you respond to rejection, but when you respond to rejection. You see, if I don't handle my concern, my fear of rejection until it's time to ask the question, then what's going to happen? I will probably not answer the question. But if I handle it before I have to ask the question, that changes everything. Because that fear is not present if I'm not in that moment. If I'm thinking about it and planning for it logistically in advance, I'm thinking out of the logical side of my brain. So what I want to do here is suggest that you could do that right now. I mean, literally like right now, while you're watching this video. You can be planning for your next prospecting calls, knowing that you are going to get rejection. And you can decide right now how you will feel when you get that rejection. You can decide that right now. You can decide now to be bothered by that. You can decide now to go, cool, I'm closer to a yes. You can decide now what your attitude will be when someone says no. In fact, you can decide your attitude when somebody says no in a way that's very snarky or curt or even a little bit rude. You can decide your own attitude, and you can do it right now. The fact of the matter is that rejection is not a big deal. The fear of rejection is a very big deal if we don't handle it. I want to make that decision for you. Decide right now. One last thing on rejection. If you want to get this right, I highly recommend that you rent a movie called Door to Door with William H. Macy. It was made several years ago about a door-to-door salesperson in Portland, Oregon. It is one of the most inspirational movies you will ever see. Absolutely phenomenal. Door to Door with William H. Macy. If you think that you've got reason to complain about how tough sales is, watch this true story. It'll change your paradigm. All right, spend some time right now to choose your attitude in advance. That's what great salespeople do. That's what makes them six-figure sales professionals.